It's a brand new year and a brand new episode of 420 grams, and we're in full AFC Asian Cup 2019 mode. Joining me in the studio in New Delhi is Leslie Xavier, and in Bombay, Arjun Pandit, and we're talking about India's first game at the Asian Cup against Thailand on January 6th. So Pandit, what have you managed to find out, man, in your digging? How's Thailand looking, and how do you think India is going to come up against them?
Yeah, bhai, I think first and foremost, we don't know too much about this side because, we haven't followed too much of what the Thai national team has been doing, to be honest. And whoever I've spoken to about them, they only know whatever's available, the small little tidbits that are available on the net. So much so that just jab bhi maine Google kiya Thai national football team, most of the searches were taking me to the Thai football team that got stuck in the cave. And bless those kids and the people who rescued them from that cave. But it gave me nothing whatsoever on the Thai team beyond the basic team player Japan mein khel rahe hain, and that this is a team that just recently lost the Suzuki Cup, which is the equivalent of, say, the SAF Cup, what India plays over here. But then I came across a video on YouTube, and for all our viewers who are watching right now, if you want to know more, do go across that video. It's called Typho Football. And they've got in touch with a guy who's an expert on Thai football, who's been covering the game there. His name is Paul Murphy. And he's given some really good insights on what Thai football is all about and where they are currently. So, of course, I got in touch with him, and he readily agreed to come on our show. And you're the man who's going to be doing all the question answering with him. Huh?
Yeah. Thanks for doing that little bit of online jasusi. Thanks to Twitter, and thanks Paul for joining us as well. So let's go across to Paul and ask him the first question, which is, of course, what, Paul, can India expect when they take the pitch against Thailand on January 6th?
Okay, thanks for having me on the show. In terms of what India can expect from the Thai team, it's a bit unclear at the moment. There seems to be a little bit of a conflict between what the head coach Milovan Rajbach wants from his players and the strengths of the players themselves. He has a system that he likes to play, 4-2-3-1, and you've got two defensive midfielders, two wide men, playmaker and a lone striker. And the players have sometimes looked a bit ill at ease with that formation, it has to be said, and they were looked much stronger under the previous coach in an attacking sense when you had a 3-5-2 with the two wing backs in evidence. It's definitely been less entertaining to watch under Rajbach. They have had some decent results, but I think his system is very much based on Thailand being underdogs and playing that way. So we won't know until Sunday if he's decided to adopt a different approach to this game. But that's what we've been seeing in recent times. Not thrilling to watch. Sometimes it gets the result, but it hasn't always done so.
So given what seems to be a defence-first approach, will Thailand, do you think they're likely under Rajbach to line up similarly against India, even though they are not, in this case, the underdogs?
On Sunday against India, again, he's so used to playing that safety-first approach, it's difficult to see that he would do something radically different. With the three Japan-based players back in the squad after missing out on the Suzuki Cup, he's certainly got more options than he did in that tournament. And you've got three very strong players there, and in an attacking sense they've got a lot of creativity with Tiraton Bumatan on the left, Chanatip Songkrasun, who's just had a great season in Japan, and Tirisin Dangda, who's been their best striker for the best part of 10 years. So they add a lot to the team in terms of quality. It gives Rajbach more options in terms of how he wants to play against India. But will he, if Thailand take the lead, will he go back into a defensive mindset? Very possibly. But we'll see. He might have learned from the Suzuki Cup when things didn't really work out with that formation, with those players that he had at that time. He's left a few of them out of the squad, people that started a few games in the Suzuki Cup. At least three of them were cut from the squad for the Asian Cup. So he did certainly show that he'd learned some things from those players. So let's see if he tries a more attacking approach against India and doesn't play as if Thailand are underdogs in that game, which they shouldn't really be.
All right, and finally, Paul, you are obviously surrounded by Thai fans and you're in touch with the national team camp as well. What is the mood like? Is anyone actually giving India a chance of getting any sort of result, positive result out of this game?
India have made a lot of improvements in the last couple of years. I think fans here know that, the media knows that. So definitely no one's underestimating India in any way. I think if you had this game 2 years ago, Thailand would have been very confident of getting the win. But there's a bit of pessimism now after relinquishing the Suzuki Cup title. There was a friendly defeat against Oman, which didn't help confidence, obviously. So there's genuine concern that Thailand will not win this game. It will be any kind of win will do for now. I think the players know that, the coaching staff know that, and certainly I think no one's underestimating India, that's for sure.
All right, thanks so much, Paul, for taking the time out to join us on 420 grams, and we hope to catch up with you again. No one is considering India a complete outsider here. I think that's the big takeaway from what Paul has told us. Your take on that, yeah, Leslie Pandit?
It's what I reckon from what Paul said, the team is also, Thailand team is also in a critical juncture as now. They see, he's afraid that the players might be a little confused because which direction the coach might take, because he wants a result badly, but then he also wants to satisfy the fans and probably the footballing mechanism there, bringing out attractive football. This is what Thailand fans are used to, seeing the national side play. And then you're playing a tricky side like India, who has grown leaps and bounds in the last 2 years, and they are, no longer pushovers anymore. So it's a very tricky game for them than it is for India, I feel. What about you? What do you feel about this?
Yeah, guys, I was recently in conversation with Ranadi Singh and Mehrajuddin Badu, and they could not stress more on the fact that India has been handed a brilliant draw if they are to do well in the AFC Asian Cup. Not only is the group extremely, you can get much more from this group as opposed to what you had in 2011, but also the draw in the timing of the game versus Thailand, that has really worked in our favour. Why? Two things, like Leslie said, Thailand will be coming out there to get 3 points. Look, Paul might be saying that no one is underestimating India, but believe you me, Thailand, when they look at their 3 fixtures, they say, look, India is a must-win. It is a final encounter. Anything less than 3 points is seriously going to deter their chances of moving out into the knockout stages. Who, by the way, that is their aim. They want to make it to the knockout stages. They haven't made the knockouts. I think the only time they made it was once in 1970s when they finished as runners-up. But that was like eons of years back. So the point is, the dilemma is when Thailand is going to come and attack on you, they are going to leave spaces behind. And that could play into India's hand here, because India, off late, in international levels, China game, or be it against teams in the qualifying for the Asian Cup, they like breaking on the counter. And they're doing very well on breaking on the counter. They have that solidity, that shape, and then they know how to burst forward, and that could play into India's hand. But remember this, if Thailand, and hearing by what Paul told us about the coach and how he's a results-oriented coach, if Thailand score the first goal in this game, I will not be surprised if Rayovac suddenly says, shut shop, no one is moving forward, 1-0 is good enough, because 1-0 gets us 3 points.
Fair enough, but a couple of things. If we're looking at essentially a system wherein, or a sequence of results wherein the best third place team situation comes into play,
4 of them in total,
then goals also become a factor.
Yeah, they
it's
do.
not just about points, because you're likely to have other groups as well where teams will be equal on points. So that's one point. The second point is that this the coach Rayovac is a highly experienced coach. He's taken, like we were talking earlier, he's taken Ghana through the group stages of a World Cup, and a group where they had Germany in the same pool as well. So the coach has plenty of experience of playing or running teams at the highest level in the world. How do you think
that's different from Thailand, bhai?
Yeah, but the dynamics of the tournament is the same, because you have to escape a group, and you have to do stuff that would ensure that you qualify. Bare minimal is enough, but you have to do those stuff. And here the bare minimal could be goal difference as well. So will Thailand sit back and enjoy a 1-0 and try to protect a 1-0 goal difference? I mean 1-0 lead. I doubt, because they have a lot to lose. It's just the start of the tournament. They can't afford to do that at that point. A lot of unknowns out there, and the other two teams are practically playing at home in a way, because they are from the region. UAE, the hosts, and Bahrain. So
no, I think that way India also playing at home, because, and we'll see this when the crowds come out, that a large number of people in the crowd will be expat Indians. Definitely.
So,
yeah.
Leslie's. No, but you know what? I completely agree with you guys, man. And the timing of the fixture, man, I think that's beautiful, and that's what could work in our favor. Just a few things on the Thai side. Don't take them on face value, being ki AFF Suzuki Cup mein they got knocked out in the semi-finals, and people are saying all calamity has taken place. Yeah. That Suzuki Cup happened without 4 of their outstation stars. 3 of them playing in the J League, and the other playing in the 2nd division in Belgium, that being their goalkeeper. Now, the goalkeeper has been ruled out of the tournament, but the 3 of those players playing in the J League are back. And mind you, these 3 boys were not making up the numbers in the squads that they were playing in. One was playing in Vissel Kobe, along with Podolski and Iniesta, a regular starter. The other, who was the big star, that is Chanatep Songkrasin, was voted as one of the finest players in Sapporo, another team in the J League. They finished as runners-up. And the other, who was the captain of the squad, the only player with AFC Asian Cup experience, the last time Thailand played in the Asian Cup, 2007. He was a 19-year-old then. He is their captain now, striker. His name is Dangda. And he's got a brilliant record, man. I mean, it's a great matchup, because on the one hand, you got Sunil Chhetri with his record of 60-odd goals in 100-odd matches. Here's another guy who's got 42 goals in about 93 matches. So it really can be built as the battle of the 2 big strikers from Thailand and India as well.
3 of those players are attack-minded players. So they're coming back into the mix. Obviously, Thailand will have their tails held up high and go out for a result. I believe it would be a attack-minded game. You could expect that. But then now, how will India soak in that initial pressure? At least, I think they will come out all guns blazing to take the momentum, so to speak. And then conceding a goal would be disastrous for India after that, because I don't think we have conceded. I mean, that can be an Achilles heel also. Conceding early.
Perhaps.
And in the last friendlies, friendlies are actually not a yardstick that way also, right? Because it's not a competitive environment as such.
Oman beat Thailand right now 2-0, by the way. And Oman we drew 0-0 with.
Yeah. So
that's a, I mean, again, without too much of the details on who were the 11 or the bench also that played that game, we can't really draw too many comparisons. But on sheer face value, the fact that Oman beat these guys 2-0 and we drew against a similar team is a huge positive. It also shows that perhaps there are chinks in the Thai defensive system that we can exploit, because let's I mean, okay, we don't have the experience of players playing in the J League or playing in Europe, but over the past 8 years since India last was at the Asian Cup, several young players have developed well, and guys like Udanta, Chhetri, of course, JJ, a couple of the midfielders, they pose a real threat going forward as well.
Yeah, Siddhanth, this is something mentality, right? So again, I'm going back to Renedy and Mehraj, who were part of that 2011 squad. And because we were doing a show, of course, and there was an interview of Sandesh and Gurpreet, and both of them are saying that this team as a unit is not an easy team to beat. Don't think we're going to the Asian Cup as pushovers from any stretch of the imagination. We believe as a unit, not as individual players, as a unit, we are a very tough nut to crack, and we will always be going for it throughout those 90 minutes. And Renedy and Mehraj admitted to the fact that this shift in mentality has come with the ISL, because week in, week out, you're playing with players that have come in from Europe. Of course, the quality of the foreign player has gone up, the quality of the coach has gone up, and as a result, the Indian player who would be seeing, top quality players doing stuff on television a few years back is now doing the same things in practice, because he's being how do I say, he's been prepared in a certain way to be able to do that come the 90 minutes on the field. So mentality has changed big time from that 2011 squad and now 2019 squad. 2011, big names, biggest names, my favorite team, but 2019 in terms of mentality, they are fit and ready for international football.
The thing is that it works both ways in that sense, because there are some big names who have come in from Thailand who are attack minded, and then I feel that we had this discussion in the previous episode as well, that the biggest weak link in Indian team would be the defensive line, and 3 quality strikers at the best in, some of the best in Asia that way, because playing in the J League and all that, and they come in and we have a slightly iffy defensive line. So
well, positive signs, huh? Last 3 games build up to the Asian Cup, we've only conceded 2 goals in 3 games. Games versus China, Jordan and Oman. So, I know I was critical of the defense, but still.
In a way, both these teams find themselves in a similar situation, right? Where the coaches are going in with a let's not concede, let's not lose mentality.
Yeah.
That's the first sort of building block on which the rest is based.
Yeah, it would be.
In that way.
Yeah.
But historically, this game promises to be quite exciting because India and Thailand have played 21 times. In those 21 matches, there have been a total of 57 goals scored. Right? So, hopefully, we're on the cards for a 3-goal thriller.
I honestly, I don't agree with you, because the stats that you're giving, that includes an Indian team that is not tactically astute. And when you have a tactically astute team, the first thing you do, or the first way it affects you, is that you don't concede too many goals. Because you know how to maintain shape. So I feel in that aspect, game is other goals hen, to be honest. For me, the crucial, and I'm summing up the conversation right now, the crucial point is the first goal. If India scores the first goal, Thailand goes into the break having conceded a goal, I am telling you, they are going to be flustered, man. And how? Because as much as anyone may say, Thailand is considering themselves as a walkover over India for 3 points. And India is not going to be a walkover or a pushover from any stretch of the imagination. If Thailand scores that first goal in the first half, then it's going to be a really tough uphill task. But believe you me, this Indian team, they know how to fight, and they can fight for all 90 minutes. Because you've got good reinforcements from the bench as well. Ashik is there, and if Balwant or JJ, either of them can come off the bench, depending on who starts the game.
Yeah, this is the one game where the bench, I think, will play that critical role. So at 60-65 minutes, we'll know then what the situation is and how we need to adjust our lineup and where to inject that little bit of extra pace and a little bit of creativity to maybe make something out of it. Okay, so we've got concluding statements from Pandit. Your turn, Leslie.
I agree with Pandit when he says about the initial phase of the match being very critical. And so getting the momentum, getting control of the match, if not scoring, that would be important. And so that's where Indian midfield might have a bigger role to play. They should ideally crowd the midfield so that Thai wing backs, they are known to attack from the sides. They don't get much space either. Besides that, everything to lose, everything to win, I guess. So going all out for goals would be a priority as well. And I hope, like Siddhanth said, more goals come from the match, and I hope that they don't sit back and try to eke out a 1-0 result or something like that, because that would also matter ultimately, because other teams are strong, and if it comes to goal difference, that would make a difference. If at all a prediction is required, I don't know. I want India to do well. I want India to win. So maybe a 1-0, 2-0 result to India, but that's wishful thinking, I think.
Irrespective of what I think Mr. Praful Patel said with regard to India winning the AFC Asian Cup, I don't think that's a realistic aim. I think an important part of...
He sounded a little like Patel earlier.
I think an important part of this whole experience or experiment with the Asian Cup is to popularize the sport and grow the following of the Indian national team. And I think for that to happen, how we play and how we approach this game against Thailand will be critical. And I'm super excited about it, and you have so are the other two boys, and I'm sure that all of you watching are as excited about the game coming up. Pandit wants to jump in before...
Quickly, I just want to thank Paul, man. It was really nice of him to come and lend perspective, and hope all the viewers get some perspective on the team we're going to be facing on the 6th of January, and not that when you Google and get to know about the Thai team that got stuck in the cave. So thank you so much for that, Paul, and really opening our eyes to the Thai national team.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Paul. Thanks to you also, Pandit, for taking the time out to join us from Bombay. Thanks, Leslie, for coming in. Next time we chat, guys, will be after the game against Thailand. So until then, we'll catch you on 420 grams.